Well, good day, everyone, and welcome back to the Living Word series, where we bring scripture to life and analyze chapters. I do believe that people are gaining much more out of this experience when they do the analysis or look at the analysis videos than the actual verses itself. And like in this specific case, where we were reading the King James Version and reading the words that were spoken, it was a bit confusing about what was really actually meant by these verses. Questions were popping up, and I went and did my little bit of research, and here is my interpretation of chapter 9. I hope you guys are going to enjoy it, and if you do, please remember to give me a thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe to this channel, become a member, and always hit that bell icon so that you can get notified of the next video when it drops, which will be chapter 10. Let's take this step by step. Let's go take this verse by verse. So Genesis 9 verse 1, it says, "And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth." Okay, nothing weird here, nothing strange, straightforward. It's just a repeat of the commandment that God gave to Adam in Genesis 1 verse 28. This shows that Noah is like a new Adam, and they are restarting humanity after the judgment. So straightforward, nothing weird there. And here it becomes interesting. Genesis 9 verse 2. "And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth." So before Adam, there was a peaceful coexistence between man and animals. And Adam had a very peaceful dominion over the animals. And only now, animals will fear humans. This marks a shift in the relationship between mankind and creation after the flood. Genesis 9 verse 3. "Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. Even as the green herb have I given you all things." But wait. Weren't we able to eat animals already in Genesis 1? God now only allows humans to eat animals, not just plants. In Genesis 1 verse 29 to 30, before the flood, it said to humans, "Behold, I've given you every herb bearing seed, and every tree. To you it shall be for meat or food." Here only plants and fruits are given as food for mankind. And to the animals, it says, "And to every beast of the earth, every green herb for meat." Animals also were given plants, not flesh to eat. That means even the animals were not eating each other. So in Genesis 1, both humans and animals are portrayed as herbivores. The word meat in the King James just means food, not necessarily flesh. After the flood, in Genesis 9 verse 3, it says, "Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things." Now God explicitly adds animals to mankind's diet. Notice the comparison, even as the green herb, meaning just like he had previously given plants, now he also gives animals. So the difference is, before the flood humans ate plants only. After the flood, humans are permitted to eat animals, but with the restriction of not eating blood, and we're going to get to that next. So that animals not eat other animals? Genesis 1 verse 30 says, "And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat." And it was so. All creatures, beasts, birds, creeping things, are given plants as food. There's no mention of animals eating other animals. So what this means is, an original creation idea is that the picture in Genesis 1 is of a peaceful creation without predation. Humans and animals alike were sustained by plants. After the fall in Genesis 3, sin started to affect all creation. The text doesn't explicitly say now animals became carnivores, but violence and death enters into the world. By Genesis 4, Cain kills Abel. By Genesis 6, the earth is filled with violence, and many interpreters see animal predation as part of this corruption. So biblically, the safest reading is originally that all creatures were given plants to eat. After the sin, death and violence spreads, which may have included predation. And after the flood, God formally permits humans to eat meat. Now, let's look at verse 4. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. Okay, but isn't every living thing full of blood? Isn't there blood in all flesh? So how can we eat meat if this says we are not allowed to eat it? What it actually says is that blood represents life. God forbids eating meat with blood in it. You may eat the meat, but not the blood, because the blood is the life. Since all meat has blood, how do we eat meat without blood? The answer is actually quite simple. Ancient practice was to drain the blood before eating the flesh. If any of you have ever worked in a butchery or ever slaughtered a cow or something before, you will know that you first put the animal, you hang the animal, and you drain all the blood from the body before you start actually working with it. So there's the slaughter method, which the animal's throat will be cut so the blood poured out. What remained in the tissue was considered part of the meat, not the lifeblood. In later laws like Leviticus 17 verse 13 to 14, Israel was commanded to drain the blood into the earth and cover it with dust. Eating blood was strictly forbidden. And the symbolism thereof is that blood belongs to God, not to man. That's why it was used in sacrifice. It represents life given back to God. This foreshadows Christ's blood being poured out for atonement. So in simple terms, yes, all meat has blood, but the command is against eating meat with its blood still in it, like raw, strangled, or not drained. Proper preparation separates the flesh from the blood. Genesis 9 verse 5 to 6. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. Human life is sacred. God will hold people and even animals accountable for shedding human blood. In verse 6, whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made he man. Capital punishment for murder is introduced, and the reason? Human bears God's image. Killing a human is an attack on God's image. Genesis 9 verse 7. And be you fruitful and multiply. Bring forth abundant on the earth and multiply therein. That's just a repetition of verse 1. So God emphasizes his will for humanity to spread, fill the earth, and not remain stagnant. Genesis 9 verse 12 to 17. We get the sign of the covenant, which was the rainbow. So the rainbow is God's reminder to himself and humanity of his mercy. A sign in the sky connects heaven and earth, and the covenant is universal, not just with Israel, but with all nations and creatures, and actually with the planet itself. And then we start getting into a new kind of story. Genesis 9 verse 20 to 21, we see that Noah has now become a husbandman. That means he became a farmer, and he planted vineyards. And unfortunately, he got drunk, which was showing his human weakness. Just to prove again that even the most righteous man still sins. We are born sinful, and sin is part of our nature, and it doesn't matter how good you are or how wonderful you think you are, you will slip up somewhere. We are not perfect. Genesis 9 verse 22, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brethren without. So in this verse, Ham dishonors Noah by looking on his father's nakedness and gossiping. You know, gossiping is a sin, right? In ancient culture, showing disrespect to one's father was a serious sin. Now remember what we said way back, is that people's names in the Bible are mentioned for a specific reason. Either something happened to them, or we are learning a story or learning something from them. So you will notice that Canaan is specifically mentioned. That's because after Shem and Japheth took the garment and laid it upon their father, and Noah awoke and found out what happened, he cursed Canaan. He didn't curse Ham directly. Now the question comes, but why curse Canaan? Canaan didn't do anything. He's innocent in all of this, as far as we know. So why did he blame Canaan and not Ham directly? So there are three explanations given by scholars. The number one is the consequences through descendants, which is a biblical pattern. You'll see a lot of the times the sins of the father, In the Bible, blessings and curses often falls on future generations. Noah's word are less a personal outburst and more prophecy. Ham's sin will bear fruit in his line. Canaan's descendants, the Canaanites, became a wicked people later. You will see that in Leviticus 18 and Deuteronomy 9, fitting the curse. Ham's dishonor tied to Canaan. Some Jewish traditions suggest Canaan may have been involved or influenced the situation. The text highlights Ham as the father of Canaan 3 times, as if the narrator is pointing us towards Canaan's role in the bigger picture. And thirdly, prophetic foreshadowing of Israel's history. This isn't just about Noah's family quarrel, it foreshadows the future. Shem was the ancestor of Israel, which were the covenant people. Japheth was Gentile nation, which later enlarged. And Canaan, his descendants became Israel's enemies, judged and dispossessed from the land. So the curse aligns with God's later plan in salvation history. Hebrew storytelling often uses names symbolically. Canaan is emphasized because the Israelites, who first heard Genesis from Moses, were about to enter Canaan and drive out its inhabitants. The curse explains the moral justification for that conquest. So in short, Ham sinned, but Noah cursed Canaan as a prophetic declaration of what would become of his descendants. The point is not personal punishment of an innocent child, but the unfolding of future history. So what should be our key takeaway from this? The passage is less about Noah being unfair and more about prophecy and foreshadowing. Canaan represents a line of rebellion against God, which contrasts with Shem's line, leading to Abraham, Israel, and ultimately Christ. And then the very last thing that we see is that Noah lived after the flood 350 years, and all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. Noah lives a long time, but eventually dies like Adam. Reminder that sin's curse, which was death, still reigns. Despite God's covenant, ultimate redemption is still awaited. Okay, I told you guys this one was a doozy. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the analysis and my interpretation of what all the chapters mean. I definitely learned something out of this chapter, I can guarantee you that. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So once again, let me just remind you to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. Subscribe to this channel, please. And hit that bell icon once you've done it, so that you can get notified of when the next video will be dropped. Okay guys, and girls, whatever you do, keep it safe. Until next time, God bless you. Cheers.